Welcome back to the BJJ Fanatics Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ford. My guest today is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's been a black belt for 5 years. He's also got 40 years of experience in wrestling. He's a certified coach in the Scientific Wrestling Catch Wrestling system. He's also a USA Florida wrestling leader, and he's a copper and bronze certified instructor under USA Wrestling. He was also a black belt no-gi world champion and a 2-time Pan Am's no-gi champion. He's a 5-time Gi International Open gold medalist, and he's been on the world podium about 7 times. He runs his own successful brand called Blackout Grappling, where he teaches a unique hybrid grappling submission system mixing catch wrestling and jiu-jitsu for today's modern grapplers, and he exposes people to that through seminars and instructionals. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be joined today for the second time in my podcasting career by Coach David Petrone. How are you today, David?
I am great, Ryan. Thanks for having me back. This is cool. Yeah, the second time. I'm excited.
I'm stoked to have you back, man. Now, so for the listeners that didn't know, I used to host the Fanatic Wrestling Podcast on top of doing the BJJ Fanatics Podcast. So when I was hosting the Fanatic Wrestling Podcast, David was one of my guests. You guys can go back and check that one out if you haven't heard it already.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun, man. But for David, for people that haven't heard that first episode that you and I did, tell us about your background. Where are you from originally, and how did grappling become a part of your life?
Well, I'm Orlando, Florida, raised. I've been here my whole life. As far as grappling and like everybody, I started wrestling early when I was a kid. I was heavy into martial arts, and I had a friend of mine move away from the neighborhood, and he started on the wrestling team when we were maybe 13 years old. And when he came back to the neighborhood, it was just a kind of an introduction to the world of ground fighting, which was a shock. We always say that it's like you can kick high and you can kick hard, but once they grab a hold of you, everything changes when it goes to the ground. So, yeah, I fell in love with it when I was a kid. I pursued it as much as I could. There are some politics that were involved in my journey. I had a little bit of a different lifestyle as well, where I stepped away from things for a little bit, but it's come full circle. I've been involved with, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, competitive grappling since, early 2000s with Dean Thomas, back when he had his fight with BJ Penn. It was just an awesome time, a lot of growth and stuff. But, that's my thing. That's where I come from. And then as well, I am educated in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Gi Jiu-Jitsu, which I'm a huge fan of. I absolutely love it. Growing up wrestling and having to deal with a sweaty wrist or a slippery ankle, or just the fact that you can use the material, as not only to connect yourself to your opponent. You can you use it as a weapon, a defensive system. I mean, it's incredible. But yes, that's one of the things too, is that being a wrestler, I really enjoy the material. I like the system. It's really intricate. A lot of guys have contributed to it. There's a bunch of different systems that you can kind of pick or mix them together as well. So yeah, it's this is kind of my thing,
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, yeah, you and I have had several conversations off air before, and I think you and I are very much kindred spirits in the sense that we love all forms of jiu-jitsu and all forms of grappling too. You and I have had some cool conversations about just the other, styles of grappling that can be integrated into jiu-jitsu, or how jiu-jitsu can be integrated into other styles. And so yes, one thing I always think about you when you mentioned that you started wrestling at a young age. That's something I really wish that I had been more diligent about. I wish I would have been more interested in wrestling when I was younger. I wrestled very briefly in middle school and quit because it lined up at the time when I was supposed to get out of school and go hang out with my friends. And so that's where my mind was at 13 years old. So, but then I look back, I'm like, damn, I wish I wrestled, because anytime you grapple with a wrestler in jiu-jitsu, it's like, man, this guy's not really new to grappling. This is they have such a great head start.
Head start, right? Well, that's what, like you say, it's not fair to the listeners, because you and I have had conversations, just in text and off air and stuff. But it's just that where I think last time we talked, it was just about kind of, it was at that era of like a meme or a joke about the wrestler coming in and destroying all the, everybody up to purple belt, or, having a hard time dealing with a D1 wrestler. And now it's not a joke.
Exactly.
We've infiltrated, we're here, and it's definitely recognized for sure. I say that where, as much as, there's trends, everybody's chasing a Kimura, everybody's going after triangles, everybody wants to lock legs. Well, now everybody wants to wrestle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's obviously an incredibly valuable aspect of grappling. I've always said
100%.
Yeah, and I've always said over the years too, like with the takedowns, even like there's so many schools out there in jiu-jitsu that don't focus very heavily on takedowns, and I've always likened that to being like a great airline pilot that's great in the air, but you can't take off the plane by yourself. And it's kind of like man, you got to know how to get it to the ground to use your ground fighting, man. So
well, for sure. But I feel like I will say where it's honestly the rule sets that force those situations.
100%.
The jiu-jitsu had already adapted by and by sitting, pulling guard. I don't have to stand on the feet with this monster who wants to throw me up over his head. Yeah. Just sit to the butt, pull guard. I've trained with the Meow brothers. Wilson is a good friend of mine, and that the Barambola system is legit. It's a real. Those guys will pants you too. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
They'll grab the back of your gi pants and they'll just yoke you down.
Yeah.
But it's the rule set that kind of forces those situations where, with ADCC, you have to stand. Some guys will take the penalties and just sit, but ultimately they all start on the feet. And I feel like beyond a sport situation, it's best to be educated, in a stand-up or takedown situation. Absolutely. For sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But a lot of the newer tournaments and stuff are starting to catch on. Adhere to the ADCC rule set by making the guys stand. We just had a Primordial Grappling, I think it was here. They had the same ADCC referee here in Orlando.
Nice.
ADCC rules: stand up. You gotta fight off your on your feet for the first few minutes. But yeah, I think it's it's important, and then especially with gi as well. There's a lot of applications that you can use, standing on your feet, whether the guy grabs a hold of you and is using the material in a say judo, esque kind of battle, or you can just change gears and relinquish the material and chase a single leg, double leg, so it's important to have that kind of information. So you can use what is valuable in those instances. We're talking flashes.
Totally.
But
yeah.
it's the same. The same on the ground is that's our mentality.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's interesting with wrestling too, I think a lot of times when people talk about blending wrestling with jiu-jitsu, the first thing they think about is takedowns. But I think that I think that another thing that doesn't get as much attention as it deserves is the mat work of wrestling. I mean, man, like everything from mat returns to pins to transitions to.
Oh, you gave me the goosebumps with that one. Look, I got the goosebumps. So, because that's a hot topic right now, bro. And then even like, God, I don't want to be that guy, but it's with respect to what he does and the research and stuff. Like, listen, all of the guys at this level, we're educated. We study. John's not the only one who goes back and rewinds reels and goes through old tapes and stuff. It's like, but they are kind of for the catch wrestlers and the wrestlers. They are coming for us. We make jokes within the community, but where. Just a couple weeks ago, or I think where Gordon Ryan was talking about John coming back and having a bunch of information pertaining to the top wrestlers, their techniques, what they're using, and now we're talking about what chest to chest pressure, no, pinning control, the art of pinning, which, poor Jake Shannon, he's been screaming about that for years. It's that's pure catch wrestling. Honestly, I lean a little bit more towards folk style, which it's all descendant of catch, but the real focus on that folk style is there is no submission. So it 100% is the focus on controlling your opponent, through pressure, through movement. It's not just like, you trying to, it's like, you trying to chase limbs or go after. You want to control this guy's body and his movement and break him down by putting all your pressure on him, live toes, no knees on the mat. Those little details, they start to frustrate the opponent. They start to break him down, which then leads them to not following protocol, or they'll expose a limb, or become desperate, those kind of things. But the art of pinning is, something that you learn day one of the wrestling practice.
It's kind of the whole point. Yeah.
Yes. And then so when you're talking about a jiu-jitsu guy who's used to having, his opponent or the top guy framed on his knees, gable grip, framed on the elbows, it's more of a trap, but there's not true pressure. And then when there is a squeeze, you can make it uncomfortable for the guy, but to break him and to break his will, it's a chest to chest ride. It's folk style. Catch as catch can. It's the art of pinning. And then at that point, we are allowed to submit. We are allowed to chase, limbs, break bones. The mix becomes really valuable. And then these guys are starting to recognize it, which, it's cool, because they're the loudest voices or the most recognized. It will disseminate the information. Jake, he's been going on about it for years. I just do it naturally because that's how I roll, or that's how I ride. I don't know anything else. When I was taught to, work from my knees or work from a framed position from top, I absorb the information and the knowledge, but rarely do I utilize it. Absolutely. But again, it's a real thing. Everyone's starting to make moves towards it. You see a lot of the top guys resourcing, pure wrestling, arm drag, pure wrestling moves, snatch singles. I think even Dante Leon locked up a cradle, maybe in like a semifinals or in one of his matches for ADCC. I mean, it was exciting, but it's not just a trend. It's definitely here. Everybody's now. It's wrestling for BJJ, or well, when the guys start calling it American Jiu-Jitsu, it's like, well, that's catch wrestling, and then we don't have to be so Brazilian American. It's Jiu-Jitsu,
Right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. David, this actually leads us right into what I wanted to talk about with you today. The overarching topic of today's episode was going to be about blending grappling styles. And I think this is a great subject to explore with you in particular because of your background in both wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and due to the fact that you've blended the elements of each style so well together as a teacher. You demonstrate these concepts really well in your instructionals and in your seminars. Of course, man. So let me start by asking this. What do you feel is the best base to have as a grappler, and why?
Man, you already answered that question. 100% wrestling right out of the gate. And then it's a tough path too, because everyone is excited and they want to start their kids young and push them into it. And man, wrestling's tough, but it makes tough men. Only the strong survive, or the strong at will. You don't have to be the biggest bull on the mat, but You just have to be smart about your techniques and applications. But 100% wrestling, folk style wrestling. That's the thing with me too, is that I was exposed to catch wrestling when I was young. And I wasn't allowed to lock limbs. I was shown these techniques, but it's illegal. And I just kind of had to bide my time a little bit. But once I was introduced to jiu-jitsu, no-gi grappling, I was like, hey, wait a second. I know this. I was like, hey, so it all just kind of clicked for me. But I feel that for sure, 100%, if you can get your kids started early, folk style wrestling, or if you're an older guy and you have an opportunity to take the wrestling classes that are offered at your jiu-jitsu academy, or if you have an opportunity to get with a wrestling club, it's for sure a benefit, 100%.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it's an interesting thing. I think that when people start with one style and cross over into something else, there's always going to be sort of like a bridge to cross. There's always going to be, like, I think for jiu-jitsu guys that started in jiu-jitsu and cross over into wrestling, we mentioned like the idea of learning how to do takedowns properly, learning how to set things up like that. For wrestlers that come into jiu-jitsu, obviously fighting off the back, like that's the last place in the world a wrestler wants to be, is on his back. So that's yes. Like that's a little weird little bell curve that they have to go through. I think for any style that someone crosses into, there's always going to be those little learning curves. Yes. So yes. Yeah.
And then that's why I'm here to help as well. We do have, it was our fourth instructional. We have a system, a hybrid cradle system from the bottom, hybrid bottom cradles, where, we use the cradle as a trap against top pressure, the smash pass, all that stuff that everybody tries to fight. We'll invite that. We'll set the trap. Which, a lot of guys, usually when you're on the top and you're running pressure, the last thing you're expected to be is like trapped or caught up, like, hey, oh no. So we use the cradle in like a pendulum sweep, flower sweep type of movement. We, will, a closed guard for us is a body scissor. Not just a locking of the feet and holding your opponent, but, we'll turn our knees in and squeeze to add a level of discomfort. But also, point being that if you're a wrestler and you find yourself on your back, we got a door for you. We have a pathway that you can study and get yourself out of those situations. That's what, even if we're on our backs, we're still wrestling. We wrestle from the bottom.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, something that's neat when you start looking at the blending of different styles, something you'll notice is that every style of grappling has elements that provide it an advantage or a disadvantage against other styles. And like you said earlier, man, these factors are almost exclusively driven by the rules of each art.
Yes. So what that just to stay on that point where, and it kind of connects to your first question where, the wrestler is taught, to be dominant, heavy pressure, relentless pace, all of that. And it's frustrating for some, more experienced jiu-jitsu players, to a certain level. But I always go to a certain point and say, hey, listen, the jiu-jitsu of today is evolved. It's built off of all these threats. The blast double leg that's where your guillotine comes in, all the top pressure and like that overbearing, like dominant mount or position. You'll get triangled, you'll get your arms taken. You're trying to reach in and grab the guys. Just based on like your fundamental wrestling, the jiu-jitsu has already got something in place for that. So that's where I feel like when you start talking about mixing it up, it's about understanding. It's about knowing the systems. Really, like the jiu-jitsu is beautiful like that. They'll touch you at two places, boom, boom, to get you to number 3. But if like, hey, I know that he wants to get my arm, or I can feel him trying to, consolidate the limb or something. It just is, a lot of guys don't know that. and then you'll get caught up. So I think it has both things. Like the wrestler, he learns the pressure and he learns all that, but he doesn't really learn the submission. And then the jiu-jitsu guy knows the submission, but he can't deal with that kind of pressure, So it's cool because both guys have an opportunity to grow, or both opponents have an opportunity to grow with, and then with that kind of knowledge, the community grows.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I always think of it as like there's two rocks. They each have a couple cracks. They've each got a couple holes. Working together, you can fill those up on both sides. So I think it's pretty cool. What do you think are some of the big like stylistic vulnerabilities that jiu-jitsu has that wrestling could address? Like, what are some things that if a jiu-jitsu guy wants to start implementing some wrestling to improve his game, where would you start typically? Where do you typically advise them to start? Right off the bat, it's catch wrestling. Now, my son and I, we were just kind of talking about that yesterday, where I love the labyrinth that is created, through jiu-jitsu techniques. They'll take you down a long dark path and then submit you. But there's always a little light. There's always a door, and then that's that revolving kind of that hamster wheel type flow. That's where they start to get the flow roll, and it's it's like you're just both trying to chase the submission or get to the finish line, and who kind of gets it first. But there's always a little like a door. With catch, they take everything away from you and then submit you. It's brutal. The submissions are brutal. But I say so if you're in a grappling situation, if you're one-dimensional, you'll have a hard time because you'll just keep trying to resource these one or two techniques that maybe your opponent knows or he's accustomed to. It's all. But when you mix in the catch, sometimes, you can just lean over and bend the guy's foot, just like, just nasty wrist lock, or just put your knee on his elbow. You might not get the sub, but you'll definitely get their attention, So I feel that there's value in multiple systems. I talk about catch because of the art of submission and its brutality, but ultimately the folk style being its descendant art, it really focuses on like hip control, body control, chest pressure, movement, which really is really key, because after that, all the submissions, all that stuff comes easy, Well, let me ask you this. There's a lot of people out there that are probably familiar with catch wrestling and understand the differences between jiu-jitsu and catch wrestling. But for people that are real new to jiu-jitsu, how would you describe the differences between, say, a submission in catch versus a submission in jiu-jitsu? Are there how's the approach different, I guess?
Well, when you're done in jiu-jitsu, you go, oh man, that was cool. And you shake and bump and you go again. When they submit you in catch, you're like, hey, what the fuck? And then you go and immediately unfriend that dude. You immediately, you're like, I don't want to roll with him no more. So those are but
it's a lot of like cranks and things like that. Yeah.
So it's the brutality, the surprise. Although there are somewhat similar moves, guys dig under the chin to get to the neck in jiu-jitsu, and they're not doing it nice. They're trying to dig in, get up under. But if, the example for catch would just be, wow, quick crossface. You're not going to eat breakfast in the morning, right? That kind of thing. So those are the difference. But, you go to guys that are a little bit deeper into it than I am, and they'll start to say where a lot of the moves from jiu-jitsu are original catch wrestling moves or techniques. But I just when it starts to do that, it's tough to put a date on anything like that, because they're. I think you and I talked about it before, where it even a lot of guys have mentioned it, where there's carvings, drawings, ancient cave pictures of, some guy foot locking a minotaur or something, But so, truly there's not too much new under the sun. It's just kind of how it's applied. Guys do a little bit different versions here or there. Maybe the transition is unique. That's what I say about our stuff. Like, I didn't create the cradle or the foot lock that comes off of it, but the connecting of the two moves and the transition, it's realistic. There's value in it. You don't have to be dedicated to one style or another. That's just the realities of it, where there is innovation, but a lot of us, we're like Frankenstein doctors, we just take the parts and pieces and then put them together and we go, look what we made.
Yeah. When I hear those conversations or debates about where a technique or things like that came from, I always kind of have to laugh, because it's like, man, look, there's only so many things two human beings can do to each other. So I don't think it's particularly unfathomable that a human being in Asia and a human being in Western Europe at the same time could have discovered what a kimura is or a double wrist lock. So it's kind of like, okay, well, who invented the punch? Like, does someone say, well, the punch was made by the Shaolin monks, and the guys over here are like, no, it didn't. It came from the Greek boxers.
And the ape.
Exactly.
The monkey in the jungle.
At the end of the day, at the end of the day, the chimps beat us in everything. They kept all this stuff. Anything jiu-jitsu, martial art, punching people, throwing rocks, throwing poop. It was all done by the monkeys first, for sure.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think jiu-jitsu is often referred to as the gentle art. And of course gentle's a loose translation from Japanese. As anyone that's trained before.
Well, listen, those guys ain't nothing gentle about it.
No, when you're choking and joint locking people, it's not as gentle as it sounds. But it said they said that a more accurate translation from Japanese would have been like malleable, rather than forcing everything. It's more of kind of like you described. It's a flowy art where you set up techniques and it's based on options presented to us. And sometimes the nature of the art can, and that actually brings me to my question I really wanted to ask you about, was that sometimes the nature of jiu-jitsu can lead practitioners to being overly passive and not as aggressive when applying their game. So when you describe the mindset behind catch or behind wrestling, it always seems to me like it's a much more forcive, aggressive style. And of course, personality types can play a big factor in that as well. Like, obviously not everyone in jiu-jitsu is super flowy. We got our brutes too in our sport as well. But what do you feel that by adding wrestling and catch wrestling in particular to a student's regimen in jiu-jitsu can increase their assertiveness and aggression when rolling or competing?
100%. But there still has to be a level of control. The catch guys, they're not fighting at like hostility or anger. It's just those are the techniques. They're the most efficient. At one time, so everybody goes, talk shit about the crossface or the crank and this, but at a time the strangle was illegal in catch wrestling. It was because the guys would die. You're choking the dude, but when you crank a guy's neck, they tap quick. It was based on safety, honestly. Guys will fight the strangle and then they die and they lose their cow. but when you crossface, Farmer Burns crossface you're gonna tap quick, but it was actually formulated for safety, but it's so like with the brutality of it, like I say, it's just where the guys, it's very offensive, and I don't mean like it's an offensive technique where these guys were fighting for money. They were fighting for and the cow is no joke. They would fight for cows. They would fight for meat, reputation. So it's very driven. It's very, I gotta go and get you. But I don't want to get in trouble for saying this, but again, that threat and those techniques were, so overwhelming or so prominent that the jiu-jitsu started to build itself off of that. You know what I mean? Like they had to learn how to deal with these, brutal situations, which leads them to pull guard, leads them to close guard, leads them to hang on to the opponent, where it's very like defensive. It's they say where it's the not the little man's martial art, but you're supposed to be able to handle a guy who's 40 pounds heavier than you. It's for when you get pushed down and they try to get you. Here comes a triangle, here comes a leg lock in a self-defense kind of situation. But it all melds as far as sport as well. But yes, it's the two are driven differently. The catch is very offensive. I got to get this guy and get him down, break him, and I need my money and I got to go. And then the jiu-jitsu is like, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna get me, and I got to set up these traps or I'm gonna get crushed.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, jiu-jitsu is definitely always presented and sold as a self-defense system. But then I also But
when you start to break it down a little bit, and then get into like the personalities, you'll have someone like Sakuraba that was, as much as he was offensive, man, he was a great counter fighter. Guys would shoot, he would almost give up the single leg to chase the double wrist lock. A lot of his movements and stuff were somewhat not theatrical, but he would do like cartwheel pass, that kind of stuff. But there's also Brazilian guys, that fight offensively. They go for it, like Leandro Lowe, rest in peace. The guy was a monster, he would just come right after you. So, it honestly, they all have value. It's just who's driving the car,
Sure. Yeah. What I was going to say earlier is that, jiu-jitsu was always presented as a self-defense system in the early days. And I think that one thing that helped it evolve, as you've kind of highlighted here, was the filter of MMA. I think that the result of what we have in modern jiu-jitsu has a lot to do with the exposure to fighting against other styles. Like you said, you mentioned if wrestlers shoot in for a double leg, that's where the guillotine became super important. Or, if fighting off your back was obviously something that would happen very commonly in MMA, or before MMA, they did vale tudo in Brazil, which was like a no rules fighting, basically pit fighting. And so that's kind of the oven that jiu-jitsu was baked in. So I think a lot of these elements you're pointing out, like you said, it has to do with addressing things that were being presented from other styles, which is really interesting.
Yeah, but now we're starting to go beyond that, where guys being a wrestler, I'm not uncomfortable being on my back. I actually enjoy some of the systems that I have available to me. I mean, I'm a catch wrestler, but I like to do rubber guard, shoulder pins, all that kind of stuff. I enjoy the opportunity to use my flexibility, and then just try and get into some of these different techniques where most of my life I just been smash, pass, body locks, just trying to crush and move through the guy, where that doesn't happen all the time, and you will find yourself on your back, where you do have to, be educated from, within that situation or from that position, which, the catch, like I say, a closed guard for catch wrestlers and us, it's a body scissor. We do fight off the back, but it's ultimately to get off of it, to get back on top. Where some of the jiu-jitsu guys, that's where the whole trapping system comes in. They'll play complacent, and maybe give you the pass in order to spin around and catch you with a triangle. So there's a little bit of depth there, which I feel like that's at that point. And I say this in most of the seminars that we do, where I'm here to show you some the techniques that we do and some cool stuff, some dirty shit. But what I'm really here to do is just to raise the awareness. There's different ways to approach these positions that doesn't just have to be, this one dimensional way of grappling. I say that a lot, where it's true, bro. I find value in both systems, and I try to resource what technique I need for that moment. Which could be, man, I gotta hook this guy's leg and truck it, get to his back, or I'm just sitting up here and let me bend his wrist, or just push on his here's a knee on the jaw, buddy.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, yeah, like I said, I think you do a tremendous job of breaking down that hybrid style of mixing jiu-jitsu and wrestling. So I really do appreciate
It's just not about the techniques, man. It's really about that awareness, and I feel very fortunate. I think we talked about this, although there's a little bit of drama between me and my jiu-jitsu professor, but I was very fortunate that I learned strong Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he basically was like, hey, here's the back of the book kind of thing, and then at that point I was able to really see how I could use these wrestling techniques, whether I was in a gi or in a pair of shorts. It didn't matter, but my awareness of like their trapping systems, what they're trying to do, why they are sitting, the overall understanding of it helped me to really really utilize my wrestling as the best as I could. Same for other people too. That's the best way to kind of describe it is to really like study, get into jiu-jitsu, study your wrestling, try to mix up the techniques to find what's the most efficient.
That's excellent, man. I love that. Well, David, I'll tell you what, I want to switch gears here real quick for just a little bit. Every time we get to the halfway point of the show, I like to play a game with my guests. The game's called the pummel. The pummel is a series of random questions. Some of these are related to grappling and jiu-jitsu. Some of them have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. But if you're down to play the pummel, I'd like to play this with you. Yeah,
we did it last time. It was cool.
That's right, we did. That's right.
I like it.
All right, let's do it again, man.
I had a little bit of a giggle when you did it with Neil. I was listening to that one.
Oh, with Neil Melanson? Yeah.
Man, I love him. He's a good guy, bro. We did a for some reason the grappling community was was really pushing for the two of us to get together and do like this joint seminar thing. Like for some reason they wanted to form some kind of like master blaster from the Road Warrior thing. Like I don't know, but it's some kind of cradle monster. But it was cool, bro. We did a seminar together. Good guy, man. Wealth of knowledge. He owes me a roll though, because he was in and out quick.
Nice. That's
but
awesome.
Yeah. But no, we're supposed to. He's out in Vegas too, so I'm getting ready to move out there. We're supposed to go golfing. I don't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love Neil, man. Neil's an awesome dude. And that would be super cool if you guys could pair up to do a seminar tour together. That's something that I would definitely make it to if I could.
It was pretty cool. Orlando's a little light. We're looking for big cities. If anyone's interested, he's down. But he sent me a thing the other day. Was like, let's go to Japan. I was like, oh my god,
that's amazing.
I gotta just move to Vegas first, bro. But,
that's amazing. Yes. That's so cool, dude. Well, here we go.
All right, let's play.
Here we go for the pummel game, my friend. First question: what's the worst job you've ever had?
Man, I always say like it was very profitable, but I built swimming pools for like 14 years, man, and the cement work was tough. I have to say that, like running wheelbarrows, throwing shovels full of cement, like. Woo! Hold on a second.
Makes you tired thinking about it, right? Yeah.
Man, I love my job now, bro. Woo! No.
I imagine that Florida heat doesn't make it any better either, huh?
Oh, it's terrible, bro. Yeah, and then it's so humid. It's like you're drowning. But yes, I've spent many a hot summer day troweling concrete. It's rough, bro.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for conditioning.
I never had to pick up poop or do anything like that. I mean, nothing really gross. But yeah, just the cement work is tough, man.
That's definitely hard work, man. That's awesome. That's a good answer. What do you think? What do you think is a secret talent that you have that people might not know about?
Huh. Well, I play the drums, but I don't know if that's like secret. I draw really good.
Nice.
But I did a thing like that was kind of where I do paintings and I did all that stuff. And when I was a little bit younger, like in my early 30s, I think I had an opportunity. I did a art show at the museum here and stuff. But I had I had been chasing this kind of dream for a really long time. And then, long story short, I finished a piece one time, and then I just kind of put my paintbrush and my stuff down, and then that was kind of it. Wow. So as far as secret talent, maybe that, no, I can't sing or anything like that.
That's cool. No, that's a cool talent, man. That's really awesome. That's really cool.
I surf though. Yeah. But I think we've said that's my I surf harder than I fucking grapple, bro, but that's go awesome. For it.
That's excellent. That's awesome, man. What's something outside of martial arts you wish you were better at?
Man, that's a tough one. Maybe communication, even this is, bro, this is my palms are sweating and stuff. I have wicked social anxiety and stuff. Really? This whole hard, it's just an act. I'm an introvert and I only do this because Vincent is man, you have a lot of good information for people. It's really, my son that's, kind of behind this and pushing and gotten us to where we are, really,
That's awesome. But, well, dude, you'd never know that, man. You're doing great. And social anxiety is something really common in jiu-jitsu, man. There's a lot of people who are naturally more introverted in jiu-jitsu. I've noticed there's not as, I feel like there's not as many extroverts as there are introverts. You know what I mean?
This is the act. Yes. When I'm done, I'm going to be like, oh my God.
Well, dude, you're doing awesome, man. So, and shout out to Vincent for pushing you to do that.
Thank you.
Let me ask you another one here. What do you think is your worst injury that you've had from training or competition?
Well, I talk about this because I've been taking. Have you heard of that BioPro stuff? And then this isn't an ad for it or anything, but I'm not paid by them or nothing, bro. I know the guy Dustin because he's involved with some of the other companies that I'm involved with, Subversive and stuff. Bro, I've been taking that. I feel great. I've never pursued anything like that before. No, I've never done any kind of steroids or no bullshit or anything like that. I just some creatine and whey protein. But this is, and both my parents died of cancer, so I'm super against chemicals and shit like that. But this is pretty cool, man. I've been taking this stuff. I feel great. As far as injuries and stuff, I say this because, bro, I've had both knees popped. My ankles twisted in both fucking directions, you know how it goes. But I've never been under the knife. I'm anti-hospital. I'm anti-surgery. I know you're having a thing or something right?
Yeah, with your knee. I'm pretty much recovered now, but I tore my MCL not long ago. Yeah.
See, so I'm pretty sure I've torn them, but listen, there's been many a nights I've come home from class and just cried in the shower, and thought everything was over with, my knees this big. But I've been fortunate enough to just kind of wait it out. So I've never been under the knife. I've had everything kind of hurt, popped, broke. My first day I started jiu-jitsu, my rib sticks out. I got one of those pokey rib things where they get crossed that. Yeah. I still try to push it down today. It happened 11 years ago or something. I was like, fuck.
Dude, if you can pin someone in north-south, that might be a tool you could use, just cross-face him with your rib bone.
Yeah, he hates it, bro. Vincent hates it. I do it to everybody. Yep, I sure do. Yep. He goes, get it the fuck, you put that fucking rib on me. But
that's awesome.
Yes, but no, I've been fortunate enough. I will say, when I was very young, I had the worst case of cauliflower here in the Orlando community, where the doctor had to call out to Iowa to figure out what to do to fix it. Because when it swelled up, they took me to the emergency room, and the doctor cut it, and you're not supposed to. He lanced it, bro.
You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. I was like 16 years old, man. I had shit was dripping out.
Oh my
God.
God.
It was the worst. But he ran like 2 fish tubes, like the clear tubing for the fish tank, and I had 30 stitches through the ear, through the tube, through the ear. Ba 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 ba. But as far as that, like, that's probably the worst. I've never had like a bone sticking out or anything, but no, I say, like, yeah, I feel pretty good. And then with the BioPro stuff, man, I've been lifting a lot. I've been in the gym, like, fuck, man, probably the last 4 months. I'm trying I'm trying to do the every 2 hours and eat. I got to drink or eat like over 4,000 or 5,000 calories, bro. I'm trying to lift and everything. But the recovery and stuff, it's quick. I feel great. But yeah. I feel pretty good for being 51, man.
Not bad. Yeah, that cauliflower thing, that's I don't think anyone's ever mentioned cauliflower as like the worst injury they've gone through, but then again, they didn't get it lanced by a doctor that was clearly didn't know the protocol. Yeah.
Listen, everybody thinks it's cool now. They walk around, they're like, "Oh yeah, look at my ear." It's like, nah, bro, I was so vain. There's no way. I was like fucking in high school. It's like, oh.
That's funny, man. Well, let me ask you this one. What do you think is your biggest phobia?
Man, phobia. Oh, okay. Well, this is easy, bro. But it might make me sound like a weirdo. I hate tags, like on your shirt.
Oh, shirt tags. On your pillow. Yeah. Oh, sure.
On your shirt, on your pillow, on the mat. Hold on. Makes me fucking, bro. I gotta rip it off. Oh, that's awesome. It makes me crazy.
That's so funny, dude. When I was a toddler, my mom used to have to cut the tags off my shirt because I wouldn't wear shirts. Same thing. I hated the feeling of it hitting the back of my neck.
Man. And then we have a sponsorship like with Lululemon. Man. But the tags on their shirt, on the back of their shirt, are like
it's like a CVS receipt. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
and you're allowed to, like, if you only have the garment for a certain amount of time, you can like trade it in and whatever. And it's like, man, but as soon as you pull the tag off, it's yours.
You voided it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good one. I wonder if there's an actual name for that. Like, they have like arachnophobia for spiders. And
bro,
I wonder what the word would be for tags.
I don't know. When I get like the blanket, and I'll pull the blanket up, and the tag is there, I'm just like, ah.
That's so good, man. That's a first on the show. I appreciate that one. I like that.
I'm just being honest.
That's a good one, dude. I like it. What do you think is your favorite bad food to eat? Favorite junk food?
The last time we were talking, man. I'm a sucker for the Velveeta shells and cheese.
Nice.
But because I've been working out and stuff, I'm trying to like be smart about eating clean. But man, I'm a sucker for a cinnamon roll. I love that shit. Yeah. I'll eat one right now. I love them.
Yeah, dude. Anytime I go to a mall back home, it's like, I don't know. I swear they set up. I swear Cinnabon has like a fan system or something where they just push
blows it out.
Just blows it out there. Cause I could be in like the other side of the mall, and I'm like, bro, there's a Cinnabon here. There's somewhere there's a Cinnabon. You know. So they get me every time, man. What's your favorite superhero?
Man, I'm still like Batman. I think still I don't want to be like super like hokey and be like, oh, Silver Surfer. He's pretty cool, but he's kind of a dick. I just watched the other Batman again with the new kid. what's his name?
Oh, the kid from Twilight.
Yeah.
I forgot his name.
I liked it, bro. I thought it was okay, man. Not to debate movies here or anything, but I liked it. But yeah, I'm a Batman. Like like I said, I didn't really read a lot of comics and stuff like that. I was, smoking weed and surfing, man. I hung out with a bunch of older guys and stuff. They used to just drag me to the beach and shit. I was like a little rat. But yeah, I'm always been a fan of Batman just because it's like, he's not like a superhero. He just, hold on. Yeah, sorry. He's not like a superhero. He's just a dude trying to fucking make it work with what he has. Yeah, I like it.
Now, David, you can't make a comment like Silver Surfer's a dick and then not elaborate. We have to know why what did Silver Surfer do to Pete?
Well, no, I like him. He's just kind of he's just a little arrogant.
He's like full of himself. I see.
Yeah, he just is kind of an asshole a little bit.
It's like, hey, look at me, I'm shiny and I can surf in space. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and he's just like kind of gloomy and it's like he's brooding and stuff, but he's got all the power. He's like even stronger than Superman and stuff, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like one of the most powerful, but he's just kind of like mopey and stuff. So
kind of got to his head. No, I feel you, man.
Yeah.
It's funny. We signed up for Disney Plus for my kids, and they have the old Silver Surfer animated series on there, and I was just like, oh, dude,
how cool.
So of course, whenever when I'm by myself and I don't have to share the TV with anybody, I flip that on, and it's a good series, man. I forgot how good it was. But yeah, I can see where.
Doing the voice? Do you know who's doing the voice for him?
I don't, man. That was old. This is from like I think this was from like 1994 or something like that.
Holy cow.
This is going back a ways. Yeah, I might be wrong. Yeah, just send you my login. You want my login? I got you.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. Yeah. My wife's gonna look at our stuff like someone's been watching Silver Surfer like 100 times. So why do we? You can't possibly be watching that show that much.
I will say though, as far as like comics, I did have a handful of his. I did. I would read. I had a few of them, man. I think I even had like a number 3 or something.
Oh damn!
I don't know. Yeah,
dude, Silver Surfer was dope though because he was so radically different from the normal story arc of like every other superhero. Like everything was like Earth based. Everything was like usually it's
he has power cosmic. Bro.
Yeah, it's all it's the whole cosmic vibe.
I got the goosebumps.
Yeah, it was totally different. It was cool to kind of take a break from like X-Men or Spider-Man or whatever else to go into this completely different realm of things. So that is cool. If you could have a superpower, what would you choose?
So, man, this is a tricky one. Yeah, this is a and then it's a pretty heavy question too because I think like the last time we talked where I always liked the Hulk movie. We had talked about it and stuff. I always liked that and I was always drawn to that like part where he's like jumping and leaping and is just like so far away where I've had dreams like that where I've kind of had that sensation and then being able to like what they filmed was kind of cool because I could relate to it but I also like again I don't want to get too hokey or anything but I always feel like the universe has got some kind of plans for you so that being said, if I look at that and how I answered the last time, with that kind of that example of like Hulk, jumping really far from one place to another, it almost resonates where it's like what took place for the year as far as like us growing as a brand, me traveling and us, just kind of going from, from one state to another. And it was really cool, but somewhat a little, maybe somewhat selfish where like, if you ask me that now, where I've kind of, I've had a chance to experience that and, somewhat related to what I have going on in my life, I would probably say now, maybe like the power to, like heal or help.
That's cool.
Or like some kind of like some, like if someone was like hurt, but maybe not physically, maybe they have some kind of maybe a depression, or maybe they're just sad, or maybe they were hurt or something, and you could help them. I think that would be kind of cool. Or maybe just like if their arm was broken, they could be like,
that is cool. I like that. Well, dude, I like that. I like that you're mindful of being of using powers to help people. I think that it's real easy when you're thinking of superpowers, like what would be awesome for me.
I'm not gonna say no to that power.
Yeah, so it's funny. Like we did I had a recent episode of the show. I was interviewing Chris Paynes, and we were both bouncing off like ideas of superpowers, and we both realized like, man, these are all really selfish superpowers. Like we're not. The whole point is to like save the world and help people. Yeah, I'm like trying to figure out ways to like fix my credit score, and he's trying to figure out ways to like travel quickly.
I want to fly. Yeah.
Right. David, final question for the pummel game, sir. If a zombie apocalypse breaks out right now, what's the first thing you do?
Holy shit, bro. I'm batting down the hatches, that's for sure. Because listen, I was late to my plane flight in Utah, and I had 6 minutes to get to the gate. At the third minute, they were like 3 minutes, and we're gonna close the. Bro, I was in a full sprint, and I'll be honest with you. I made it to the gate. Barely. I was the last one, and bro, for that last like 2 minutes of trying to get there, it was. The zombies got me. I just lost the world title. I couldn't save my family. I'm a quitter. It's like, it was all of that shit. I was in a full sprint trying to get to the thing. So listen, I got about a good 6 minutes of cardio in me, and then I'm done.
So it's better just sit still. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to lock it down and load it up.
That's awesome.
I'm not running anywhere, bro.
Oh, that's a good
I almost
answer.
died.
That's a good answer,
it was
man.
Crazy.
I like it. And David, that was the final question for the pummel game. Congratulations.
Awesome.
You win again. You got your double underhooks.
Sweet. I got you twice. Yeah.
Got me twice, man. So let me ask you this, man. Now, switching back to the topic of wrestling for jiu-jitsu. So something that wrestling would obviously would help people a lot with is to become better at pinning people. We talked about that a little earlier in the conversation. What do you feel is the value of pinning specifically for jiu-jitsu? Like, where does that provide the most value?
Man, structurally, it's a lot for your opponent to deal with. Which then it's not just like a physical thing, Ryan. You start to get into the dude's mind a little bit, and then it starts to create the frustration. We just talked about it a little while ago, but that is it. Even Gordon, he just, I think it was it Couch? Where he did he just kind of smothered him.
Yeah, he did
pressure.
Jacob Couch and also Pedro Marino. Yeah.
That's it, Pedro. Yeah. The pressure. Listen, the pressure tap is real, bro. Yeah. It's a real thing.
Sure.
I have our third instructional is that blackout grappling pressure taps, bro. Some of them are a little dirty, but it all kind of revolves around that same application of presenting yourself to your opponent where they're overwhelmed, and physically they have maybe the ability to react, but mentally they're kind of broke. They're broke already. Like, look how, man, the Pedro guy's strong. He's a big dude. He's strong. Guy. And then, Gordon Ryan just broke him, and from what? Pressure. And then it's not a physical thing. He broke his will, broke his mind. With respect to Pedro, I'm not talking shit or anything.
No,
I'm just saying the art or the act and art of pinning, it's brutal, guys. Like I teach this at our seminars. Like, we're known for our cradles, but when I go to the seminars and stuff, I introduce our side control, how we ride different. I have there's a little bit of a clip of where I'm with Bernardo, and I'm trying to explain to him, the difference in how we, how we hold our cradle. just the difference of how we ride our side control. It's not on the knees. Even if it is chest to chest, we're at an opposite 45 because nowadays, the buggy choke is a real thing. The inverted triangle in arm bar, you could have strong chest to chest pressure on a guy, but let him push you back a little, and here comes his leg. Here comes a trap. What we do differently is, our angle is a little different, which changes the direction of the pressure. And then it's not a full commit to a north-south, so it's awkward as fuck for the bottom guy. But yes, like I say, we're known for our cradles, but we approach most positions or techniques the same way we do with the cradle. That same kind of mindset, but. The art of pinning, bro, it will, we call it lead blanket. I learned it when I was young. 3 shrimp attempts and the guys are done, bro. They're gassed. Instead of me like framed over the opponent, on my knees, weight on my kind of knees and elbows with a gable grip where my hands are now occupied. If I'm chest to chest, I'm chest to chest, and I have the freedom to use my arms or my limbs, to search for submission or defend against the leg attacks, or it's a pretty intricate system, but based on efficiency, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love that you pointed out the aspect of using as a tool to drain your opponent's mental and physical battery. I mean, that really is like a very, very important thing to be able to do as a grappler. And you mentioned Gordon. Gordon's someone right now that's displaying that at the highest levels is how valuable that is to be able to cook a guy out. So yeah, I love that you pointed that out, man. That's excellent. And you also mentioned the cradle position. David, you're known for your deep exploration of the wrestling cradle position and the way that you integrate it in with your jiu-jitsu, which is super cool to see. What are your thoughts on using the cradle as a starting point for jiu-jitsu guys that want to add some wrestling flavor into their game?
Bro, so man, hold on a second. I don't know if you can see those. Yeah, because that question means it means a lot to me, because it's what we are kind of ultimately here for. It's like I'm a kind of a gatekeeper for this, where like if you're a wrestler and you're getting into jiu-jitsu, I have a position that you're probably familiar with, or or you're comfortable there, and now it's gone beyond of what you traditionally know it as, is just a hold. We've gone back and where everybody talks about this, where the whole Schultz and Gracie match. He held him in the cradle 30 minutes, But if you break it down, where ultimately Hickson didn't have scientifically or technically an answer for it, and physically, he was trapped. And he had to play the complacent card, where he just had to wait it out until Mark, didn't have the strength to hold it anymore. And was ultimately submitted in the end by triangle, I think is what they'd say. Where, if we go back and I had a chance to talk to Mark and be like, hey, when you get him in the cradle, do this, put your knee here, his arm's going to pop up, or you can take his back, right, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it would be a little, we would be in wrestling shoes and singlets instead of gis and belts, kimonos and belts. But I say, like, for a wrestler, it's a direct path to submission with a hold that you're familiar with. And as a jiu-jitsu guy, bro, I just had a friend of mine, a Brazilian kid, cut a clip where he's a traditional, he's a student from the Meow Brothers. He is traditional gi jiu-jitsu. He does no gi jiu-jitsu, but his thing is barambola. Everything's inverted and rolling, and man, but he and I are good friends, and he just made a clip of doing my techniques in the gi, and then applying it to a position that when the guys shoot on them or they're in a turtle, he mixed in the cradle within the series of movements and stuff, and it's like it's a whole nother world for those guys. You know, he's like, man, I see you do this trap, and I'm here all the time. He's like, can I make a video and put the moves? So I was like, bro, do it. Like, you know, all that does is just help it grow. So I say, like, if you're a rubber guard guy, there's cradle techniques that we have. If you're, you know, a guard player, you know, there's cradles that we have from the bottom. You know, if you're a smash and pass guy, you know, we have techniques for you. There's something for everyone. And then not just like in promotion of like, you know, we have techniques for everybody. It's not that. It's for the community, where if you're a big guy, a little guy, you like fucking rubber guard, you can, you know, you like going to the back. There's pathways and techniques available, you know, that guys are not accustomed to. They're not accustomed for you cradling them and then taking off with their leg and locking their ankle or heel hooking them. You know, like I said, I didn't create the heel hook or the cradle, but the movement and combining the techniques, that's where it changes the game. And then I will say, there's guys already, man, guys are on the successful side of it, winning matches, and I get stuff all the time like, hey, I did the cradle, and they'll send me the clips, I post them. But you know, oh shoot, sorry.
That's okay.
But as well, you know, guys are defending against it, and that's what makes it legit. You know, once they start to defend against it, it's established. So, and then as well, like, listen, you know, the cradle as a hold. You know, we talked about this before. You know, your knowledge of it goes to what? At best, in a jiu-jitsu situation, it would be to just kind of control the scramble, or get control of the, you know, stop the flow and give yourself a chance to, you know, catch your breath or hold the guy for a second. But ultimately, you don't have anywhere to go from there because they're not threatened by the pin. They don't care if their shoulders are on the mat. You know, a lot of guys like their shoulders on the mat because they'll invert from there. Yeah. So, you know, it's what we've done is just it's evolved. You know, it's just that, it's that simple. You know, we've weaponized it. I've made it an actual threat. From, you know, doesn't matter if you're on the top or the bottom, or even standing. Our last instructional was the hybrid cradle takedowns, which is funny because I do this like standing kind of jackknife cradle, and then all of a sudden it just starts popping up everywhere, which is cool because, again, it's not something that I you know, I created. You know, it was something that I was exposed to when I was young, and I don't see anybody doing it, you know, and that there's opportunities for this now based on guys' athleticism, you know, their will to not be taken down. You know, you see some of the collegiate kids nowadays, you know, they'll do a backflip. Have you seen that stuff where they jump out of the single leg and stuff? Or they hop around on one foot and the guy has a full split, but he can't get the dude down. Yes. So, you know, there is you know, there are legit techniques, you know, just you know, they just have to be resourced for those situations.
Yeah. Well, something I've always enjoyed about watching your content specifically on the cradle is exactly what you're highlighting here, is the fact that the cradle really is a very transitional position. I mean, it's a great place to secure someone and pin them, but at the same time, there's a very, very diverse roadmap of where you can go from there, which has been really cool to see. And I always appreciate the way that you and your son, Vincent, demonstrate the crazy places you can snatch up a cradle. There was one you guys did where I think you were in bottom side control, and as he was trying to advance to mount, you snapped up a cradle, and I was like, man, what? No, I never even would have thought of that. That's incredible.
Exactly.
So it's really neat. Yeah.
Thank you. So, and then that's what I'm talking about, is where, and you know, that's and I know the technique you're talking about. And then that is a hybrid bottom cradle, where as a top player, you know, it's something that, you know, you're not used to, or you feel like I can explain it like this in like in breaking it down, where we almost feed into the confidence of like the pressure pass and let the guys. So let me explain it like this. Like, have you ever been like you're in a match and you're holding the guy, or you look over and you see the guys on the mat and the dude's holding him and the coach is yelling, "Don't hug him, don't hold him. Get space, create space." You want to push the space. No, I don't want space. Space is a killer. I want to connect myself to you. That is what we're trying to do. I want to be one with you, so I can now be in control of the momentum. I can be in control of the movement. Because once you feel the trap lock and you're like, oh shit, I'm in a, you're like, oh no, I'm in a cradle. Or you feel like you're not supposed to be in a almost defensive situation when you're in such a dominant position. And then what comes right away, they want to push on your face. They want to push on your face or try to make you uncomfortable. But when they do that, what do they not have, Ryan? They don't have a base. Yeah. So then if they are trying to control their balance, they're not passing. You can just hold on to them, keep them trapped, and then wait for the ego, wait for the frustration, wait for them to go, fuck this guy, and try to push crossface, and then that's what we try to capitalize on those moments,
That's excellent, man. Yeah, the cradle really is such a valuable tool, man. And for people that, for anyone that's been stuck in one, there really is nothing worse than when you try to extend yourself back out and you realize you can't. You're like, damn it, dude, I just got cradled.
Okay, but you hear that, so right away, so you hear how you want to extend yourself. So we can feel that,
yes,
and then
correct.
And so when you want to extend yourself, there's a whole video of techniques that come off of that reaction.
Well, I've been specifically. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've been specifically using that concept of yours to get them to be desperate to do that, so I can advance to mount, because they pretty much hand you the mount if you're in side control, or if you're in the cradle on the side, and they start extending like that. They're pretty much just saying, "Here, just mount me." So
Yep. And then a lot of guys, there are some tricky guys that will give you mount because they want to get to your leg. But when I go to mount, I'm going into mount with a punch choke. I'm not going in unarmed. I'm not going in to it just kind of advance. I'm going in to kill. Yeah. But it's cool because like I said, we've done the homework, and then that information can be passed on to where it's just like you say, it's like, hey, now I'm trying to use that concept of where, I even say that sometimes guys they don't want you to cradle them, and you just fake it and they'll pop up or open up, and you can just move on them, or take a limb, take a neck, because they're so far away from what they're traditionally supposed to be doing. Just little details like that within the instructionals where, Vincent does a great thing where he's comes off the cradle and attacks the legs, and it's a positive control system where, he has the cradle locked and he just will crank the head, and then when he pops the head pops, he'll just slide down onto the leg without changing the grip, come in. And it's based off of that. Like, guys are okay. I have a couple small clips of some of the seminars where we do where, traditionally guys are, this is traditional jiu-jitsu. You framed up, elbows, knees, maybe a little bit of a ball, diamond. But you take them just a little bit further and they don't want to be there,
That's awesome. I love it, man. Well, for anyone out there listening that wants to learn this stuff, we talked in depth today about both pinning and the cradle. And David has several instructionals with us. I think he has a total of 5 instructionals with us. But the one that most relates to what we talked about in depth today is called the Blackout Hybrid Pin and Cradle System. It's available right now at BJJFanatics.com. So if you guys are interested in learning these concepts, I really do recommend it. All of David's instructionals are great, but if you're really interested in the topics that we talked about today, that's a great place to start.
Number three will get you in trouble though. The pressure tap, pressure taps is a rough one.
You'll get unfriended on all social media platforms for sure.
Did you see Bernardo? Did Did you see Bernardo scream?
He was cringing. It looked very uncomfortable.
Bro, it was the absolute best. Like, they had to stop filming. John was next door. Donhar was next door. No. And they had to stop filming because we were being so loud and everybody was laughing. And man, it was great. And I'll say, I am a company man for sure. I'm really grateful, for what opportunity they've provided for us to kind of share our information. Dan has been awesome. Dan Vailmont has been really kind to us, bro. He never says no. Just a really cool dude. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work with these guys. It's cool.
That's all. I definitely know the feeling, man. These are the best group of people I've ever worked with as well, too. So it's cool that you've had the same experience. And that video with Bernardo was really funny. I was appreciating. It's like, man, Bernardo's a big, strong guy, man. So if you can make Bernardo,
giant.
if you can make him cringe, that'll probably work on anybody.
He's like five-time world champion.
Yeah, he's a stud. Yeah, he's a monster. Yeah,
he goes, ah! I put my knee in his ribs. He screamed. It was great. I love it. Awesome. But it was documented. It was documented that it was officially the dirtiest techniques that he's ever filmed for his YouTube channel.
That's amazing. That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, yeah, you guys get on that. Like I say, he's got 5 different instructionals, and number 3 is the dirty one. That's the pressure tapping instructional. Ooh. But the one we talked about today, again, blackout hybrid pin and cradle system.
Yes, so. Pin and submit. That one is. So I say, as far as the gi one, if you're into gi and using the material, that the gi system. Bro, I will put that up against anybody's. Like, I absolutely am so proud of that instructional and that material. But the one that we're talking about, the pin and submit, the first one, that I put everything into that, bro. I dumped my life into that one. There's like, I think over 100 submissions on it. It's like fucking, and we had to film it twice. The first time Vincent and I filmed it, we were both wearing black, so we kind of turned into like a symbiote, like
tell who's who.
Whose leg was where. It was like, what? And I was like, oh no. And then we had to film it again. And then we were like 2 techniques from the end, the triangle from Far Side Cradle, and I put him to sleep. I didn't mean to, but he was out, and then I went 3 more steps into the technique, and then I looked down and I go, "Are you all right?" And he goes, like, made a noise, and I go, and he just started convulsing. I was like, "Oh no."
Dude, I've been there.
It was a rough one, man. So he went to the bathroom, and then he came back out, and I go, "Hey, we have like 2 more techniques," and he goes, "Let's do it now." And then that was
that's so cool.
Yeah, bro. At the pressure taps one, he didn't talk to me for 3 days after that because I popped his knee with a cloverleaf cradle and a reverse cradle. Yeah, and you can watch at the end of the instructional. He's like sitting there, and he looks like one of those troll dolls because he starts off, his hair's all nice and slicked back, and then it looks like an eraser head. And I popped his knee, and I sit back, and I go, "Okay, everybody, well, thank you." And he's sitting next to me, and he's like, and then he got up and left. And he didn't talk to me for 3 days after.
Oh my God, dude. So just a disclaimer on David's instructionals. You'll get unfriended from people at the academy, and you might cause family splits. So be careful. Just be careful with these things. Be careful with them. That's so cool though that you have that you get to train and practice with your son like that. I mean, my son's actually my son's a Vinny also, man. He's only a year old.
That's great.
I'm hoping someday I'll get to share these same kind of stories. That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool.
So David, in closing, man, what are some of your major goals for 2023? What are some things you hope to accomplish by the time the year's over?
So, we have big plans for this year. We are fixing to move. We're headed to Vegas this weekend. I got 2 more workouts, and then we're in the U-Haul and headed out.
That's excellent.
7 dogs in tow, 3 cars and a truck, bro.
Jeez.
Yeah. So and they're all little rat terrier, Teddy Roosevelts and stuff, bro. It's a madhouse around here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're headed to Vegas, relocating, and I say, we already have a pretty good like run up and down the East Coast. So us being more centrally located will give us access to more of the West Coast. I just scored another seminar in Montana, like June 3rd. So I honestly I was kind of looking to not start slow, but take a little break. But I wasn't expecting to get started this early. But February 25th, we're in Ohio. The 26th, the 27th. I have 3 dates in Ohio right out of the gate. And then beginning of March, I'm in Boston. Then we're supposed to be filming. I have I think March 5th, I'm supposed to film 2 instructionals. We have the room set reserved for us at BJJ Fanatics headquarters. We're set to film our cradles and leg locks and our hybrid side control. That's kind of stuff that we were talking about that I usually only keep for the seminars, but we're going to document the material and put it out in an instructional set. But I think the biggest thing that I'm shooting for this year is our UK Euro trip. I'm gonna try to sneak into Canada. I don't mean it like that, but get into Canada in April. I have a friend up there who has an academy in the Ontario area, and we're supposed to go over there and visit with him. And then this UK Europe trip, I'm looking to try and get things set up for like summertime because like right now I'm booked. We're booked all the way into June, so I'm trying to look at maybe July. Headed over to Europe. I've been in contact with Owen Lisley. He's kind of holding the door for us. We were kind of in contact because he was doing a Cradle camp and was talking about like us doing something together. It's really all on me at this point, just trying to get everything set up and then get over there for UK. And we have friends in Netherlands and Germany. I think it's the Euro trip is pretty much the biggest thing that we have on the table for this year.
That's pretty exciting, man. That is really cool. So yes, you're going all across Europe through Canada and then through Montana. That's super cool, man. And
so our seminars here, it's like I say, Ohio. Ohio, Massachusetts, Florida, North Carolina, Montana. We have a pretty tight schedule, and I'm just kind of holding off so I can have those summer months open for the Europe visit.
That's incredible. Out of curiosity, is the seminar in Montana going to be at an Atos affiliate? Is that it?
No, it's
no.
It's
there's a big Atos affiliate up there. I was just curious. Yeah.
I think the name of the gym is Trap House Society, Trap House BJJ.
Cool.
Really cool group. And again, I really like it. I'm not much of a door knocker or door. It's like. So when the guys reach out to us, it really stokes me. So they were a group that reached out towards the end of last year, and we weren't really sure with what the schedule was. But so I'm set up to go to Montana. We have Texas too. Texas is supposed to be a big one in May. Yeah, May 6th, we're in Texas. Yeah, so that's what I was saying about as far as what we're doing. We're focusing on seminars around the globe and privates, guest instruction, and our instructionals.
Incredible. That is awesome, David. So it sounds like a busy year coming up, man. I'm happy to see it. And again, man, all the content you make, man, I find it really resonates with me in my game. So I'm sure that the people that attend your seminars are going to feel the same way. So that's super cool.
Thank you. Oh yeah, it's awesome, bro. Those are the best. Because I always say, like, man, I'm a product of exposure. That's how I was raised. We've said that I've said this before, where I didn't have YouTube, didn't have Instagram, we didn't have that kind of shit. And if you wanted to really advance or really excel in grappling, you had to go to camps, you had to go to seminars, you had to go to different practices. It's almost the same as like if you do jiu-jitsu, you want to go around, you become somewhat comfortable, where you stand with the guys in your gym. So it's always best to kind of go and try to test yourself or see how your skills are against somebody that you don't know. I that's why I do like the competition and stuff. I feel like that's the best way to really test your skills. There's hard rolls you'll have in your gym and stuff, but you know how you do against Tom, but Steve from 2 counties over, you're not sure what his game is, that kind of thing. So I do support that, and it's tough around here because a lot of guys in Florida, they're like flag oriented or gym oriented. They don't really come out of their comfort zone, and it's tough to evolve like that, bro.
Well, folks, unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. David, man, I always enjoy our conversations. I appreciate you coming back to interview with me again, and I really look forward to the next one, man. Honestly, you bring such a fresh perspective into these conversations because you have such a diverse background of mixing styles together, and I appreciated how well you explained all that today to us. So thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it was awesome. I appreciate you having me, bro. It was really cool, and I dig talking to you too.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. For anyone out there who wants to keep up with David, it's really easy to do so. He's active on Facebook. He's got a Blackout Grappling page there you can follow. He's also active on Instagram. His Instagram is blackout_grappling. On YouTube, it's the Blackout Grappling Arts channel. So if you type in Blackout Grappling Arts, his YouTube channel will pop up. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit the little bell icon to get notified when new videos get added. His website is blackoutgrappling.com. That's a great resource for all of his instructional information, his seminar tours, and everything else that's going on with him. And speaking of instructionals, you guys can learn from David anywhere in the world at bjjfanatics.com. He's got 5 different instructionals with us, more to be recorded very soon. The one we talked about in depth today was Blackout Hybrid Pin and Cradle System, which is available right now. So you guys go over and check that out, and it's truly a great resource for adding wrestling and particularly pins and cradle systems into your jiu-jitsu. And that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode of the BJJ Fanatics Podcast.